and we should be live in
Alan Wake is
a
like
few seconds.
everywhere.
Waiting for that phone ding.
Oh,
I got
the buzz.
I got a
All right.
danger.
All right, so we are live. I think that's everything. I think we're good to go. All right. It's a wonder that this game doesn't have more nominations. The Game Awards 2023, according to Press B, today on. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Press B to Cancel. I'm your host this week, Sick Jake, and I'm joined by two friends of mine. Chard, how you doing this week?
Good. I was trying to get my puppies to not talk over the intro, so it sounds like we were successful.
It's okay. It's okay. That's what Post is for. And also joined by Werewolf. How you doing this week, Wolf?
Happy to be out of the bed, walking around a little more than I was. It's nice.
Yeah. We're glad to have you back because I know you've been out.
For those unfamiliar, I messed up my left foot and that messed up my right knee. And so I've been hobbling around like a drunken toddler, which I was told today by the wife that should not be a point of reference. But
hey, you know, if the shoe fits, man.
Look, if somebody doesn't make a podcast with a drunken toddler audience, then what are we even doing, right? We got to cater to all our audiences. We got to spread that the net wide.
I thought that was my pool. I thought that's what brought me on here.
Many drunken toddlers in your pool, Chart? Is that a thing?
Apparently.
Okay. Wow. Way off track. All right. I want to get right into this week's episode because it's going to be a big one. I'm a big fan of the Game Awards. I know award shows. I get it. I know they're cheesy. They're subjective. Whatever. They're still fun. And the guy running the Game Awards for the last 10 years, and even before that, is Jeff Keighley. And I love the Game Awards. I love the lead up to it, the hype. I love the companies get nominated. I love the whole damn thing. And it's particularly exciting this year because there's so many damn good games. We've been saying, I think almost every other episode on Press B, there's so many good games to play. I don't have time to play them all. There's just so many. all those games that were in the works and got delayed because of 2020, we all know why, all came out this year, and it's packed. And I almost feel bad for the future versions of Press B next year because 2024 might be a little bit dry. We might be more focused on retro, as is on brand, next year because most of the games have come out this year.
Listen, I need a break. I need a break from some awesome goddamn games that have come out this year. And I just think the 2024 for me is going to be reviewing the last half of 2023.
Catch up, yeah.
Too much good stuff. It's like AM PM, man.
There is a ton of them. So what we want to do is they did announce the nominees on Monday, and so this is the Friday. So we wanted to just talk about them like we did last year, me and Char, but now we got Wolf because he's also interested in this stuff too. Just want to talk about the nominations. There's some controversy over one particular category. What do we think? Is anything missing? Do we think it's wildly off base? And there's no Elden Ring this year, so maybe the conversation is a little bit easier. But let's
know what
see.
I'm doing here.
Well,
I don't know.
Okay. Before we jump into it, I would like to say that, if you think back on just about any year of the Game Awards, they tend to get dominated by one game.
Yeah.
And I feel like...
I think we're seeing it. I mean, I've been kind of perusing the nominees, and I think we're going to be talking about one quite a bit.
I have not looked at any of the nominees yet. I was waiting until tonight. But
it's a good thing you're laid
given
up.
The history,
the spoilers.
Last year was what? It was Elden Ring dominated it, right? It got
as it should have.
And if you remember, in 2017, Tears of the Kingdom won a ton. Even best soundtrack, which was kind of weird because the music you don't really notice it in Breath of the Wild, not Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild.
Right.
So in 2017, like there were a couple of. Yeah, like there's a couple of good tracks in the game that I absolutely love, but for the most part, the game was just like little piano notes here and there.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds like a cat running across the piano,
Yeah, exactly. When you get chased by something, it sounds like a cat or a puppy, like
Yeah, and it's not obnoxious. It's not bad, but I wouldn't call it best soundtrack, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But I expect Tears of the Kingdom to kind of jump and pounce on a ton of awards this year as of right now.
Okay. I don't want to spoil it because I've been kind of knee deep into the social media of seeing what people's reactions were to it. So we're gonna go through category by category, and you'll be surprised. I think Chard, you know a few of these already, and we'll kind of just get everybody's takes around the table for each of the categories. At least the categories that matter to us. I don't think any of us give a damn about esports. I'm sorry for those people who are into it. It's just really not, I don't think, our thing.
Yeah,
but, it's not our gig, and that's fine.
Right,
we're here to talk about just the gaming categories, really, not the esports and creator categories.
And like they added quite a few more categories related to esports. So we'll start from the bottom. I think that makes the most sense because Game of the Year is the last one. So we're not going to do the esports, like best esports coach. It's okay. I don't think so. Athlete, content creator, most anticipated game. So this is the weird category. This is almost like, which game commercial are you most excited for? Do you guys want to look at this one? This is for best upcoming game that's not out yet.
It's like
most anticipated.
Right?
Yeah. Because like all my games have come out this year.
So. I can go off on a tangent on one of these if we want to, but
I have so I have guesses for this. I don't have guesses for everything because some I just don't care to, or I wasn't informed enough. But for most anticipated, I have 4 guesses as to what's on the list. Obviously, Final Set, FF7R2. So Rebirth, whatever. I figure that's on there. Infinite Wealth, is that on there?
It is.
Like a Dragon?
I'm looking at them right now.
So. Okay, let me pull
it up. I got it. I already got it pulled up. Yep.
Oh, I thought this is the subject we were starting on. So
yeah. So most anticipated game. I haven't opened it yet for people watching and listening. So I haven't named what's on there. So if you want to give your guesses, and then we'll pull it up.
And then I don't know if a Mario RPG qualifies for this or if it counts as 2023. I'm not sure how that works.
So so the cutoff date is November 17th. So Mario RPG came out on the day. So technically, I think it doesn't count this year, but it could next year. Although by the time we get to next year, I don't think it's going to get anything. So that's a shame for the 4 bars.
Alone
Spoiler,
in the Dark.
It shouldn't.
Alone in the Dark is my last guess.
Okay. So let's pull it up, and then Charlie, I'll let you give your rant.
Well, I was going to say I got them already pulled up. I can read them off if you want to. I'm looking right now.
Sure. Okay, you read them off. I got them on the screen for folks.
So Wolf, you had Final Fantasy Rebirth, correct?
Nailed
it. You had Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, also correct. The other 3 games that are on here are Hades 2,
really?
Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8 are the 5 most anticipated games coming up.
Can we just get a new Tekken, or is this still the same Tekken that's on the horizon?
This is just the same one that's on the horizon. I don't think we got a new one yet.
Yeah, Tekken 7 came out a few years ago. I think it had a bit of a renaissance though, because the fighting game scene has kind of exploded over the last year. We've been very fortunate to get Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, but we also had a resurgence in Tekken players as well as other games. So fighting game scene has kind of picked up, and Tekken was like a go-to for a lot of folks. I even tried Tekken 7 for a bit to see what it was like. But it does seem like a lot of folks are really looking forward to Tekken 8. Not my kind of game. It's a bit slow, but I get it. I just want to mention Hades 2, though. I am definitely hyped for Hades 2. Hades 1 is one of my favorite games. Supergiant Games, even if you just like listening to the soundtrack, because they always kill it on the music. It's always amazing. But I'm curious to see what they do for the gameplay, because Hades 1, pretty all-around solid game, and I'm not sure what else they can bring to the table to improve it.
I'm curious as to what the Star Wars Outlaw is going to be about. I don't know much, or if anything about that. If what kind of style
I've not even heard of that one.
Yeah,
it's
I'd heard.
You're basically Han Solo kind of role, and I heard it's a bit more open world because that's Ubisoft's thing, is open world action games. So I think it's Ubisoft's style of open world games, but they got the Star Wars license, so it could be interesting.
Is it going to be on the same vein as
Starcry?
Right.
More like Watch Dogs. I think if anything, it'd be like Watch Dogs or Assassin's Creed.
I was going to ask if it's still got that feel for like the last 2 that just came out. Jedi Survivor. Like, is it going to have that kind of feel to it? Just
No.
That was EA, wasn't it?
That was EA Respawn, I think it was. So yeah, it's gonna be a different feel. I guarantee you, it's gonna be Watch Dogs feel, but it's Star Wars themed, and that's not bad. I mean, who knows? Yeah.
I like Watch Dogs. That's a good game. Yeah. Like a Dragon, I've heard nothing but good things about the first RPG based help me out here. The game that it's based off of.
Like a Dragon.
Well, no, it's like a Dragon, but it's the Yakuza. Thank you. That's the Yakuza series. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's always been called Like a Dragon in Japan. It's just we finally got there here.
Oh, okay.
They didn't think Like a Dragon would
RPG
yeah, this
based?
is basically it's basically Yakuza 8.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But the thing to keep in mind is this series, it's a new protagonist like they brought in the last one, and the style of the game is different. It's very much a JRPG, and it's a lot of callbacks and Easter eggs based on JRPGs. Like, I mean, in the first, I never finished the first game. I really should finish it. I did like the beginning of it. One of your party members is a homeless guy, and he's the mage. He's the wizard of your party, and his spells are like making pigeons fly out as an attack spell, or taking a swig of whiskey and making a spout of fire. Like, that's the kind of game it is. It's very, very, very weird. Probably not very PC, but it is a fun one, though. The combat's actually really good. And like the main protagonist is a bit of a dork, and I do like him quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the whole Yakuza franchise, Like a Dragon franchise, has been kind of wacky. Amidst very serious storylines, there's a lot of wackiness. Yeah. And I mean, it does the game favors. I'm not going to say it's unwanted.
Yeah. Hades 2 is great, and we only have a couple hours, so I'm just going to say Final Fantasy. You know how I feel about Final Fantasy 7 and this whole fucking thing.
I didn't even finish the first one.
Yeah.
But I get it. I understand why people are hyped for it. It's going to be huge, and that's fine. But it's probably not my thing too. I will probably want to check it out when it's completely done 10 years from now. The PlayStation 10.
When you could buy Final Fantasy 7, the complete set, the complete saga.
The complete saga rebirth remixed R4 4/5 of the third or something, right?
Renaissance.
That's what
Final Fantasy
best
Final Fantasy 7 recompiled.
Recompiled. Best adaptation is where they take a video game and it's been brought into another media. So like a movie or a TV show. Do you guys want to look at that one?
Okay. Yeah, I've got guesses for this one too. First off, let me start with this. Last of Us better fucking win this year. It's that simple.
All right. Fair.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the show.
Obviously, it's so good.
I know. I got to play the game.
The Super Mario movie just has to be on there. Mm-hmm. Twisted Metal. Please tell me Twisted Metal made the list.
Yes. Yep. You're on there.
It's better than it seems. I swear. And then I guessed Five Nights at Freddy's movie and Castlevania Nocturne something. Nocturne Origins.
You missed one.
Oh, there were 6.
No. You got to swap one for the other. Okay. Castlevania Nocturne, The Last of Us, Mario movie, Twisted Metal, and Gran Turismo. Which
I didn't even know that was a thing until like 2 days ago. I was like, they made a Gran Turismo movie?
I didn't know it was out yet. I kind of want to see it. I heard it was okay. But if you were to take a list of video games that I think would be great for movies, Gran Turismo is definitely not on that list.
Go watch the Fast and the Furious and go away. Like it's I don't understand how that could be an adaptation of anything.
I think the idea was they recruited video game players in a tournament or something, and they scooped them out to be race car drivers. I think that was literally the plot of this movie, and that just maybe I don't know.
What?
I mean, this is what video games movies are, though, right? Like
I'm out.
I'm out. I'll Netflix it. Yeah. Twisted Metal. I know, Wolf. You said Twisted Metal. You really like that one. It's campy. It's weird, but it's good, right?
Yeah, like it actually it rides the whole wave of emotions. Like it's very serious and sad and angsty at points, and then there's points where it's just laugh a minute, right? Yeah. It goes back and forth. That it's great. And basically, if Sweet Tooth's in the episode, you know it's gonna be a fun one,
right?
Well, they got Will Arnett for the voice, right? For Sweet Tooth, I think. I love him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's good.
And then there are a couple of really somber episodes where they explore sort of the history of some of the characters. And even exploring the history of Sweet Tooth was a little dark and messed up. Like they did a good job with everything, I felt like. And I'm really looking forward to season 2 because then it'll actually be, and I hope this isn't a spoiler because the first season of Twisted Metal is not the competition, but season 2 should be.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Didn't realize that.
Season 1 is an introduction to the world itself and a number of characters.
Gotcha.
Interesting. Well, I do have to watch that. I think for a lot of these, I haven't seen any of these. The only thing I saw was the Super Mario Brothers movie, which was a good movie. I think it was great.
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
If from what I've heard from The Last of Us, it's going to be good, and I'm excited to actually. I have to watch it. I've been trying to play the game so that I can understand the references, but time is just not easy to get underneath me right now. So one of these days I'll finish it up. I have it. I've been playing it on my PlayStation 5, but I can't I just can't find the time to sit down and play it for more than a couple hours.
Yeah, same. I want to play it. I just don't have the time. But I mean, the show was always interesting to me. I've seen clips of it. I know Sinistar, one of our other hosts, he raved about it as well as you, Wolf. And I mean, Pedro Pascal's a great actor. I love him. He's great. I can't see them picking anybody. Like the winner's going to be Last of Us. It has to be Last of Us.
It has to be. Yeah. Another good example of this is my wife is not a gamer. And she saw most of these with me, right? So we watched the Mario movie. She thought it was good. It wasn't anything amazing to her, but she thought it was good. She loved The Last of Us, particularly episode 3, but she loved The Last of Us. And episode 3 is the Bill episode. 5 Nights, she was out. I know that's not on the list, but she was out. So I don't think she'd care about Gran Turismo. Twisted Metal, she enjoyed. She quite enjoyed it, but she thought Last of Us was better. And Castlevania,
the other anime is really good.
The first Castlevania series was great, but if you remember, the first season was just 4 episodes, and it kind of took some time to ramp up.
Yeah.
This time, the first season is 8 episodes, and it takes the 8 episodes to really ramp up. Like it ramps up at the same pace, spread out across 8 episodes instead of 4. So it's a slower ramp. But they did some cool shit. Like Ulrox, one of the bosses from Symphony of the Night, they made him an Aztecan vampire instead of just whatever, and he's important. They did some neat stuff. Like Just Belmont from Harmony of Dissonance, the one I hate the most, he was in it. So they did some neat stuff. Like, because it makes a little bit of sense that Just would be in it at some point. So
I'll be honest with you, I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised to not see Cyberpunk Edgerunner on here. That
Edgerunners came out last year, September last year.
Oh, is it that old?
Really?
God, it just seems like it's so new.
Wow.
I just finished it this week and it was awesome. I loved it. I was glued to that show. That was awesome.
I got curious about that one when you were watching it. I was like, when did that one come out? September last year. That's
interesting.
Okay. I'm really surprised to see it, and that makes sense why.
Yep. All right. So it's gonna be Last of Us. It has to be. Okay. So moving on to the next category is best multiplayer. Any guess, Wolf?
I think Mario Wonder's on here. That's my only guess.
Okay. See, I would never have guessed it to be on here, but yeah, you're right. It is on there. Do you want to read off the rest, Jared?
Yep, I got it. So Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, and Street Fighter 6 on top of Super Mario Wonder.
But Street Fighter 6 is only 2 players at a time, right? Or did they introduce?
It's an open world. It's an open world multi-game where you run around the world.
Oh, is it like
people? Yeah.
Hold on, because I played it. It's an open world single player campaign, yes. And in there's also a battle hub, which is the multiplayer arena system. And in the multiplayer arena, you can run around and see other players and challenge players. There's arcade machines to sit down at, and you can play each other at the machines in a real match, or you can play Final Fight together or stuff like crap like that. So it is neat, but it's mostly, yes, it's a Street Fighter. It's a one-on-one. That's the multiplayer aspect to it. It's great because it's rollback netcode, and it's quite responsive. There isn't much in the way of lag. Things run pretty well. There's been a big problem with some fighters recently not using rollback netcode, which is that lower latency somebody else can explain it better than me, but rollback is the way to go for fighting games. And there's been some prominent releases in the last few years that didn't have it, even though it was kind of established like this is what players want for online play, especially with the pandemic. You're trying to play games online. Like you try and play Smash online, I gave up because it's just ridiculously bad online. But if it had rollback, it would be a lot better. That's why people started playing Melee quite a bit for a period, because some fans implemented rollback netcode into a client to play it that way. So Street Fighter 6 has it from the get-go. A lot of fun characters are returning. The graphics are great. The music's great. It's got a really fun, interesting vibe. It's not gritty and dark at all. I'm not going to call it cheerful, but it's a very vibrant.
It's
city.
Bright. Yeah, vibrant. Yeah. That's
like the graffiti styles in effect. So I mean, it's a fun game, but I don't think I would give it the award. What I'm surprised about is Diablo 4 being put down here for multiplayer. I had a few complaints about Diablo 4. Multiplayer was one of them. In Diablo 3, if you wanted to just like join a group of randoms to play, totally easy to do. You can't do that in Diablo 4. It's online. It's always online, but they deliberately made it a design decision to make the overworld that you're traversing sparse of players. When you're in a village or town, you'll see a couple people, but it's very, very sparse and few and far between. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of players playing with you, even if there are thousands playing. The only time you see other players is after you've beaten the game, you unlock world bosses, and then during world bosses for a couple minutes, you'll see a dozen players or so, maybe more. But after the world boss is dead, everybody kind of goes off their own direction, and you never see them again. You don't remember names. You don't really make friends. There's no voice chat. There's no contact. Like, you don't make any connections with people. They might as well be random NPCs. Whereas Diablo 3, I mean, I remember people's names. There's chat involved. I would say hi. The people help out. None of that in this game. The only way you get multiplayer in this is with friends. But I mean, there's so many other games I would rather play multiplayer with friends. I'd rather play like Guild Wars, or I would rather play Path of Exile, or Shredder's Revenge with you guys. There's so many other games that are better than Diablo 4. I feel like that's such a waste of a pick for this category.
I still feel like we still need to do a Baldur's Gate thing with all of us.
We do, yeah.
Yes. My only issue.
Time.
I know, right? I didn't play Diablo 4 because, I mean, honestly, I barely put any time into Diablo 3, so that was just a bad investment in general. But Street Fighter 6 is a weird pick. I don't think of 2-player, like one-on-one, as multiplayer. Like, I feel like 3 people or more have to be able to play together or against one another to qualify, and that's just how I think. Like,
right. No, that makes sense. I feel like the true multiplayer game on here probably would only be Party Animals, which I don't know enough about it to really, support that. But I mean, you're right. I mean, Baldur's Gate.
Is that a mobile game?
No, it's like a Gang Beast clone. If you ever played Gang Beast.
Yeah, it's like the goofy animation stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to play it, but I never did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Baldur's Gate could possibly be on there, but I know that it's like when you play multiplayer with somebody, you're like committed to that world, regardless if that person's there or not. They're like in your party and they stick around, whether they're playing it or not. And then Mario Wonder, I mean, you're playing together. You would know best, Wolf, because you actually played it with Wife Wolf and the kids.
No, I didn't.
Right?
Jake,
I thought you played it at the
family.
I played it with my kids.
Oh, well, yeah, I played it with the kiddo at the.
It's the demo, but you still played it.
That was kind of, but it was like a rush job because we were just trying to experience as much as possible in 15 minutes. So,
right.
I think this got nominated not for the local co-op play, although that can be fun. But my kids kind of burnt out on it. This game was actually they consider this one too hard. They rather play 3D Land or 3D World instead. I've asked them about it. They didn't really care for it. I played a lot of this. This probably got nominated because of the online multiplayer. And it's weird because you're not actually joining a lobby or joining a group or joining friends online, although I guess you could. It's more that you turn it on, and when you join a map or a level, you get matched with random players online, and they're kind of ghosts in the background, but they are there, they are live. And where it became interesting was there's a couple stages. There's a couple puzzle stages where you have to find these like coins, I think it is. And I couldn't figure it out. So I turned on multiplayer and joined a match again, the game again. and the other players are there trying to mime with the basic emotes that you have to show you where the coins are. You're working together to try and solve the stage. That was really cool. The other aspect is as an online player, you can leave a standee, like a picture of yourself, which you can spawn off of if you die. So I think before we recorded, Chard, we mentioned that you were playing Mario Wonder. You've beaten it, which is great.
Yeah.
And that there's a couple special stages that are difficult. I got through them with the multiplayer, and that's a cop-out, but whatever, I'll take it, because that's part of the game. There's a stage where you're a Goomba and you have to kind of like Metal Gear Solid your way through a freaking level. It's very difficult, and at the end of it, you have to kind of traverse these bubbles to get to the end. And me and like 2 or 3 other players, when I was going through it, we were on that stage. It felt like forever. We get to the end, like all through the level, we're like dropping standees. So the first person who makes it past an obstacle drops a standee. The other 2, if they die, can spawn and get past it. We were working together through the entire stage for a good 5 minutes, it felt like. Get to the end. We see the goal. We're trying to traverse the bubbles. We're dying multiple times. None of us can do it. And then I sacrifice myself to help one of them get across, thinking, yes, he's going to help me. He's going to drop a standee. But what does he do? He
dips.
Goes to the goal and dips. The other player... He makes it across. Surely Daisy, you're gonna help Daisy, right? You're not gonna leave. No, they leave. Both of those son of a bitches left me alone at the end of the stage, and I couldn't get past it. It took me another 12 tries, like another 30 minutes to get through that stage. But when I finished it, I'm like, that was an experience I've never had before. That was a pretty awesome feeling, and kind of afterwards. But it's an interesting scenario that you don't see in games online. It's a novel aspect. It's different. It's weird. It's very Nintendo online. I think this is probably why I got nominated. I think it might actually win for how unique it is, but I don't know.
I mean, I don't feel like there's any of these games except for maybe Party Animals is like a true multiplayer type game on here.
Yeah. So. Like Baldur's Gate 3 kind of replicates the tabletop experience with your buddies. Like I know a coworker of mine, he's beaten it like twice now with his friends. I don't know how he's had the time for that, but he's done it. But I mean, that's why we want to try it, because it'd be really fun to play something like this with you guys, and we're just messing around.
Our personalities in this together would be freaking awesome. We'd have too much fun with this.
So
maybe it's a shame it's not like a 2-hour game. like Turtles was, we burned through that pretty quickly, but we had a blast doing it. So
like, do we have 200 hours free to do this together?
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. All right. Best sports and racing game. Do you want to look at these best sports and racing?
Forza.
I mean, we can go over it. I don't think I had any guesses for this at all.
Yeah,
but...
it's got to be Forza. I didn't even look at it. Let me see. EA Sports FC 24. I think that's their post FIFA football game. It looks like it.
Yep.
F1 23, so F1 racing. Forza Motorsport, of course. Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 turbocharged.
Oh, interesting.
And the crew. They brought the crew back.
And the crew. Oh, I heard they brought the crew back. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The Crew Motorfest.
Yeah.
A lot of racing. I don't know. I don't have a stake
Forza's
in this
cool.
race.
I know Sinistar is him and Brother Sen play it's Forza 5 or whichever Forza's out. One of the more popular Forzas together, like on their video game Wednesday church night. They invited me to come and play it with them. I haven't had a chance to do it because I do it on Wednesday. But I goofed around with it, and it seemed pretty cool. There's some cool expansions and stuff on there, but it's still a racing game, It's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. Just not my cup of tea,
If you ever pay for Game Pass, Forza's on there. All the Microsoft titles are there, and to play that on Game Pass, just to see the graphic fidelity, it is jaw-dropping how amazing that game looks. It's a very pretty looking game, and it's been like that since the 360 days. It's always been a nice looking graphics engine, always.
Yeah.
Running it on the PC, it looks absolutely spectacular. And you're driving around. I guess you're in Mexico or in that like kind of area, and you go through different environments. You go through the jungle, and there's deserts and oceans and all this stuff. So there's a lot of different terrains, and it really like pops when you're driving through the areas. It's really kind of cool for what it is.
All right. Best sim or strategy. Best sim or strategy.
This is another one that I had no guesses for.
Yeah,
I guess I should have had 2, but I didn't.
know one on here. The other ones.
How about we pull it up and you read them off? Because I think if City Skylines 2 is on here, I'm going to throw a chair because that game did not.
I will.
Well, but
how about I read
Jake? Why don't you just sit down, Jake, and just calm down. That's going to give you an advance warning. You go for it, Wolf. Right. You got it.
Wolf's going to read it. Yeah.
We got Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. What? Why was that wave of the arms?
Because I looked at the list. I spoiled myself. I looked at the list. Keep going. Keep reading them off.
Okay. City Skylines 2.
Fuck you. It can't be there. It's fine.
Company of Heroes 3.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Engage. And Pikmin 4.
Sure.
What is Fire Emblem Engage? Is that a mobile game?
No,
I don't know if it's a mobile game, but it is the newer Fire Emblem. Yeah,
it's basically the successor to Three Houses. Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know everybody was freaking out about this one coming out because it's been several. Correct me if I'm wrong, but several years since the Fire Emblem came out.
No, Three Houses came out like 2 years ago.
Did it really?
And yeah, so the way it
Three Houses came out in 2018. I want to say.
No, not that long ago. Was it?
Several years.
Shit.
Mind Palace.
Yeah. The way it's explained
July
to me.
2019. Okay, yeah, so it was just after I moved to Washington.
So 4 years ago.
I must have been seeing trailers while I was down in California.
So the way it's explained to me was that Three Houses was great. I played it. The story was actually good for a tactical RPG. Everybody says that the combat is better in Engage, but Engage's story is nowhere near as good as Three Houses. So I don't know. So here's why I don't like City Skylines 2. I like City Skyline, the first one. But the second one's, it launched, it feels like half finished, unpolished, right? I don't even think it has mod support, like Steam Workshop support, which is a big part of the first game. But you have a city and the performance issues. Like I've seen people play it on Twitch and it tanks. It's not, I know it's slim pickings, but this is like a C tier game right now. I know 2 years from now it's going to be amazing. It's going to have all kinds of add-ons and stuff. It'll be great. But released right now, it does not feel like it hangs on a game of the year type of list, right? Or at least in this category. So that's disappointing to me.
I don't even know what City Skylines 2 is. So
it's like a SimCity game. When EA screwed up SimCity, these guys came in. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, when the SimCity always online single player game came out back in like 2013 or whatever, or 2012, something like that. City Skylines came out not too long after and just kicked its ass.
Yeah.
Nice. You and Sinistar were talking about Paradox Interactive, I believe, and relating them to Cyberpunk or CD Red Project, like in the similar vein of they release stuff and then they will undoubtedly get together and repair anything that's wrong with it or upgrade it as it goes through. If I remember that discussion.
Yeah, most of the games they do get a lot of patches post release, and then that's fine. But yeah, Pikmin 4. Have you guys played any of the Pikmin games? I never did, but I know people.
I played an earlier Pikmin. I think 1.
I played 1 and 2, and I enjoyed them.
Okay.
Yeah. 4 looks fun, just not fun enough for me to want to buy it.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
I mean,
especially this year. Yeah. Something tells me Pikmin 4 is going to win it. Just because Skylines is not released in a great state. Fire Emblem Engage didn't have as good a reviews as Three Houses.
Reboot Camp kind of lost its hype.
Yeah. Well, it came out a year after it was done.
Wolf, weren't you excited about this one, Wolf? Or
I was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Have we been
together? Went and they stopped. And I mean, they delayed it because of the whole Russia incursion in Ukraine thing. It would have been bad timing in that regard. I get it. But seeing as it got delayed a year, I kind of lost my excitement for it in that time. Yeah. I was like, just go back and play a GBA one.
Right.
Yeah. I bet you it goes to Pikmin. I think people are gonna pick Pikmin, and that'll be kind of a weird pick for this category. But I don't see anything else.
I mean, I just want to point out, doesn't it seem a little weird that Nintendo has 40% of this category? No, 60% of this category.
No, it doesn't.
Well, has there any real-time strategy games released recently? Like There was an Age
really.
of Empires or
There was
Age of Kings
Age
game
of Empires
recently.
2 HD collection or something. So it's
But that's just a reboot, or like a remaster or whatever.
Not even a reboot.
Remaster.
It's like a remaster of a remaster.
Right.
Yeah.
No, because Age of Empires 2 HD came out like 5 years ago.
So it's fucking Skyrim.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
I don't know. Interesting category. I mean, we'll see what they do with this one, but I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got?
What do we got next? Best family. My only guess for that was Mario Wonder.
Yeah. Who wants to read them off? You want to read them off, Chard?
Yeah, I'll get it. Disney Illusion Island.
That's out.
Party Animals.
It's terrible.
Well,
oh, it's so dull.
Yeah, it looks dull. It's got that weird animation to it. Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
I wasn't sure if Superstars would make the list. That's why I didn't guess it. Because it, like, all the reviews are like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Is it
Mario
like Game of the
Wonder,
Year, Game Awards good? Yeah.
I need a soundbite of Wolf saying that game is terrible at some point in my life.
Oh my god. I got to play it at Nintendo Live, and my kid and I were just so bored. For 10 minutes, we were the most bored we were all day. It was more boring than waiting in line.
Damn.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Man.
It looked.
If you like Disney Illusion Island, I'm sorry, your taste is awful, but it's like that's a game for like 3-year-old and dad wanting to play a game with his 3-year-old.
No, I mean I did that with Mario with my kids. I don't need a game specifically meant for that.
Yeah. I mean, well, because it's a Metroidvania game with like no combat. It's literally just exploration and platforming.
Oh,
gross.
So it's just platforming and exploring. That's kind of lame. That's not
fun.
Not a fan of that.
All right, that's not what I thought it would be. Because there's lots of great Mickey games over the years. Like the 16-bit consoles had a bunch of them.
Yeah. Given the 2D Disney platformers of the past, I was like, okay, a Mickey Shorts animation style Metroidvania Disney game. Okay, this should be interesting.
Well,
and it couldn't have been further from it.
Anything with Mickey and Illusion was a pretty popular pick. I love Castle of Illusion. That's one of my favorite Mickey inspired games for the Sega Genesis. Castle of Illusion is freaking awesome. I love that game. So I just assume when they say Illusion Island, I was like, oh, it's like an expansion with other stuff. But that's the extent of what I know. I don't know much else about it other than Wolf freaking hates it. So that sounds like a good turning point for me. Yeah,
I'll never wear it.
It just sits on the shelf. I don't know about this one. Sonic Superstars. I'm with you, Wolf. The reviews were not bad, but I don't see it. Like if it makes this list, then this is a pretty slim year for family games. I guess that's kind of bizarre. But I mean,
there were Sonic games on the PSP, and it gives me the vibe of those games.
Okay.
Trying to remember were they Sonic Rush?
For the PSP?
Yeah, what was it? Yeah, Sonic Rivals.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it like looking at it, it gives me Sonic Rivals vibes. And I think I had Sonic Rivals 1 at one point, and I was kind of bored, so I didn't play much more of it.
Like when I think of games that I play with my kids the most this year on the Switch, for example, it was mostly Tears of the Kingdom. They just love doing the shrines. The shrine puzzles were the big thing for them. They love doing those. I couldn't even do most of them. Either my wife was doing them or the kids were taking it from my hand, the controller, to play them. They liked the shrines a lot. They liked building things. The combat was maybe not necessarily family oriented, but all the puzzles, the shrines were really great. So Mario Wonder, like I said, my kids just burned off it. It was just too hard. Even with Yoshi and Nabbit, they just found it too difficult, unfortunately.
I mean,
weird category.
My kid, regarding Disney Illusion Island, another slap at it. I'm sorry, but my kid was more interested in watching me play Control during a conversation sequence on my Steam Deck than he was in playing Disney Illusion Island. So
big selling point. Big selling point.
It's weird.
That
There's
just
no
means
combat
Control's
or
conversation
anything.
is so good.
Like, if you're not jumping on the heads of an enemy, then what's the point? That seems so weird
Or
to me.
throwing apples. I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, it doesn't have to be violent. It's a Disney game. We get it, but it has to be something besides exploring. It's not. We don't want Mario is missing.
No, give Aladdin a scimitar and have him slash at people. Fuck that.
Just no blood. Just knife them. It's no blood.
Just.
All right, we got next up. We got best fighting game. It was a banger of a year for fighting games. I don't know. I know 2 games are on this list.
Yeah,
it's
Street Fighter.
Be hard
Mortal
to fill
Kombat.
the category out. Yeah, but what else is there in this list? Let's take a look.
Let me.
All right,
Wolf, you want to read these ones?
Yeah, I'll read this ones.
Okay.
I have no horse in this race whatsoever. So
yeah, same.
We got God of Rock. What the hell is that?
Never heard of that one.
Been selected.
Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2.
That just came out.
Pocket Bravery, and Street Fighter 6.
Pocket Bravery sounds like Sinistar's high school nickname.
I can't tell you which one's going to win, but I can tell you 3 losers.
So the first All-Stars Brawl, the only thing notable about that game to me is that the first game came out like 2 years ago, and it launched without voice acting. And it was a huge problem. And they patched it in later when it actually made money. And now it feels like they've done a sequel, and it's just a cash grab to me. Like the other game just came out 2 years ago, not even. There is room in the genre to like a platform fighting game. There's room for something that has solid online that can take out Smash, because Smash Online sucks. I want a game that's like Smash but can play online. But man, Nickelodeon is not the kind of characters I really care about.
But Jake,
even if they do have Korra.
But Jake, you can play as Garfield. The fat lasagna cat is in All-Star Brawl 2. Right next to Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life.
Oh
holy shit.
Ninja Turtles are there. Oh, Aang, the Avatar characters are there.
Star, Aang's in there, the Airbender.
I guess so.
Anyway. I don't, yeah. Now they're just trying to.
God of Rock is a rhythm game.
Is it a fighting rhythm game?
Listen, they put Sifu in best fighting game last year, and we both were very
that's exactly what it is, Chard. Sifu was a fighting game last year, and there's no way that's a fighting game. It was like a single player like adventure or something, right?
Yeah, exactly what it was. It's like a 3D street brawler with souls like tendencies. It was not a fighting game.
Yeah, it's a versus rhythm game with health bars.
Gross.
How is that a fighting game?
It's going to be MK or Street Fighter 6. I have not played Mortal Kombat 1 yet, although I would like to. But I think it's 2 different styles, right? Mortal Kombat, like NetherRealm Studios has been killing it on the single player stories. The story people are actually interested in a fighting game, which is kind of wild to say in the last couple of years. I want to play for the story. I don't give a shit about the combat itself. Street Fighter 6 I was into. I did buy that one. I loved playing it. Was really good. They brought in a modern control style layout to bring more people in who are maybe fans or new to the genre. The open world single player, it's kind of boring. I'm not going to lie. It's fun for a couple hours, then it gets kind of boring, but it's definitely a unique risk that they took adding something like that in a fighting game, especially Street Fighter. And I think that gets points. But I think gameplay wise, it's probably gonna be Street Fighter 6. Even if Mortal Kombat 1 plays good, I think story alone is what makes that stand out.
Either could be the winner. It really just depends on whether more Mortal Kombat fans vote or Street Fighter fans vote. Yeah. Honestly,
I've heard more positive stuff out of Street Fighter 6 than I have about Mortal Kombat. So I would hang my hat on the Street Fighter 6.
I have not really heard much negative about either, and by much I mean any. So
fair.
All right. Next up, we got Best RPG. This is a good category. Okay. There's a bunch of RPGs.
Here we go. Now we're getting in the good stuff.
Yeah, now we're getting into the good
stuff. So
now I'm actually torn on this one. I'm not really.
Baldur's Gate 3 and Sea of Stars got to be on here. I'm not sure what else. Maybe Octopath? But I don't think so. I don't know.
No. Okay. Let's see. I'll read these. Your resident RPG enthusiast. Baldur's Gate 3. Final Fantasy 16.
Oh.
Lies of P, which
Is it?
Don't really agree with that. I don't agree with that. I mean, Sea of Stars and Starfield are
Starfield got a nomination. I didn't know that.
It did. It made it.
Good job, Starfield. Good job. You're not going to win, but good job.
Liza P. It's an RPG, Souls-like, I guess. It's a Souls-like, but it's still an RPG. You're still leveling up stats. You're still role playing. I mean, if Final Fantasy 16 is going to be in here,
so that's the other complaint I have. Why is Final Fantasy 16 here? Is that even an RPG anymore?
It is. Yes, it is an RPG. You're playing the role of a character, and it's very heavily story driven. I love 16, but there are bits and pieces of 16 that take it out of like my favorite, and it's the goddamn fetch quests that they throw in there, which pisses me off. Sea of Stars from fucking start to finish. And I know Jake I'm not gonna get into it with Jake because I know his feelings about it, but Wolf and I share the same feelings about it.
I fell in love with this game.
It is incredible, and I finished it a couple weeks ago, probably about a month ago, and it just kept, the hits just kept on coming. It just kept getting better and better and better. And then I beat it the first time, and then I went back and did a few extra things and did some cool shit with that too. And we did the messenger stuff. Then I saw all the correlations between like the messenger characters and stuff that was in there. It was really freaking cool. I'm sad to say that Sea of Stars isn't popular enough to get to like a game of the year kind of status because of all the other major companies with their game of the year stuff. But this, for me personally, is easily the game of the year for me, even though it's probably not even on there.
I suspect it will at least get indie game of the year from Game Awards. And I mean, I do think it has a fighting chance in best RPG.
As it should. Yeah. It is incredible. This is my favorite game out of this entire setup. It is the one RPG out of these groups that I've played. I played a demo of Liza P, which was cool. I didn't play Starfield because I wasn't super interested in it. But out of the other 4, Sea of Stars is easily ranks above all of these guys just because it was so perfectly well done for me.
Like as an Starfield, RPG. I played a few hours of Starfield. It's not good. I mean, it's fine. It's that studio's games, but that's a game where 2 years from now, on best ongoing game or best community sport category for the Game Awards in 2026, you're going to see Starfield win that. I'm guaranteeing you. And I'll be excited to say the game is good at that point. But right now, in its current state, forget it. Don't even bother. It's fine. Sea of Stars, I mean, as an indie game, getting nominated for this category is a huge freaking high five. I would love to see it actually win this category because it's nice when an indie game follows through on what they did. I may not like the game, but I definitely understand how it's good and why you guys like it. And its influences and it's pulling from, obviously it's the spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger in many ways, in some ways. It even pulled in some of the stuff from Mario RPG, which is cool. So if it wins, I'd be happy to see that win. I'm always happy to see an indie game rise above the indie category because like what the hell is an indie category? But we'll get to that. Baldur's Gate 3 though is really fucking amazing. And
I honestly think Baldur's Gate will take it, but
probably
I would not be upset if Sea of Stars took it.
Yeah.
My only concern is if it doesn't get it, then I think Baldur's Gate 3 will get Game of the Year. If Baldur's Gate 3 is not getting Game of the Year, then I see it getting Best RPG. But I don't think it gets both.
The Kingdom might get it.
Yeah.
Think so? Yeah.
Which will upset me.
So.
I wish I could gush about Final Fantasy 16. There are so many cool things in 16. The fighting and the boss fights and the fighting with the Eidolons and all of that crap. The story is really good. It's very in depth, but it's actually, they do some good things to allow you to follow it. But it feels like there's section in between each like major story point that is filler, and it feels like filler. And I get so annoyed because they did the same thing with Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it was like there's this lull in between, story turning events, and they just fill it with like, go and find me seeds, go and find me this, go and find this person that's lost. It's like, no, you did this awesome epic battle with Titan, and it was huge, and it was just amazing. then I gotta go find berry seeds after that. Dude, I'm still coming down from this fight. Don't send me to go do fetch quests, man. Not in an RPG. Just keep the story going. Why do we have to have all this filler and all this crap in there? It doesn't feel like like when you do fetch quests or you do story stuff and say, I don't know, I don't want to say Sea of Stars because there's not a lot of fetch quests, but there is like go out and find things like the conch shells and shit like that. But that doesn't feel like a fetch quest. Like I'm trying, like Cyberpunk. Like if you do something in Cyberpunk and you go get a fetch quest, you usually get some cool gear out of it, right? You get some cool armor, you get mantis arm blades or something.
You get
something
a neat
cool
gun or a cool attachment or whatever, you get.
In 16, I don't feel like I get anything cool. I just get experience. Story. Yeah,
and maybe a bit of story.
But it's not even story. It's like not even relevant to like what's going on at the time. And it just
you get a thanks for the berries.
Me. Yeah, basically, it's like, hey, cool. Well, now we can make sunflowers in our spaceship, and you're like, why did that fucking have to happen? It just upsets me so much because there's so like the outer core of this game is so badass, but there's little pieces of it that are just there's too much of it, and it makes me sad because I was hoping this year I was going to be gushing about 16, and then it killed.
You explained why I didn't like 7 remake is because of the side quests. The side quests were boring. I didn't like the fetch. I mean, you got story and you get a handful of money, and it was really boring to me. It feels to me like Square is kind of not sure what to do with Final Fantasy anymore. It's clear they don't want to do the JRPG anymore, and that's fine. But they haven't committed to the whole idea of making it a straight up action game. I think they should just make it an action game. If that's what they want to do, make it stand up to Horizon Zero Dawn. Make it an Assassin's Creed competitor. They should just embrace that at this point. Yeah.
And it's good.
The battles I saw you play were epic. Like, it was
awesome,
massive,
right?
And
if they lean into that side of it and just and I know the purists are going to be like, well, this ain't mine. And they're already arguing about that. It's already happening. If you just lean into the action RPG side of it and you just turn it into, like you said, Horizon Zero Dawn or Assassin's Creed or Dark Souls or whatever, and just lean into that and just commit to it, it's going to be good. Do a Devil May Cry spinoff. The action team did the fighting scenes for Devil May Cry. It's cool. It's fun. But don't add MMO elements of having to go do fetch quest shit just for XP and maybe a few items that you might be able to put into a better weapon or something. It just doesn't. It's more annoying to me than like, I got to go do this if I want to grab that. And it's just going to sit there, and it's that little fucking exclamation point hovers over the character every time I see it. And then I start having my OCD of like, I got to finish it. I got to clear it out. And I hate it. I feel like I waste 20, 30 minutes doing fetch quests, and then I can get back into the good part of the story. And I've done so many fetch quests, I forget what the fuck's going on in the story. And I don't feel like doing the Game of Thrones thing. So sorry, didn't mean to go on a tangent about that.
No, I mean, I have not played it. I don't have a PlayStation. I wish it was on PC so I could have given it a go, but I probably would have not liked it just like you. Like it feels like it's probably the next evolution of what the franchise is going to be over what Final Fantasy VII Remake was, and I'm not opposed to that, but it just doesn't seem like it's committed, and that's
just got to commit. You got to lean into it and commit to it because it's great. Everything else about it is fantastic. The artwork, the fights, everything else is great, but there's too much fluff. Too much fluff to really like make me sell it. It's still a great game. I would advise anybody to give it a try and play it and see what you think, but it's just so much fluff in that fucking game.
All right, let's look at the next category. The next two categories, I always have trouble telling them apart. It's Best Action/Adventure Game. Keeping in mind, there's also another category, Best Action Game.
Best Action. Yeah.
So
it seems
so.
We have too many action games. Let's separate them out.
I feel like Best Action Adventure is probably going to have Tears of the Kingdom, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, maybe Spider-Man. Spider-Man could end up in action. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Read them off. Go ahead.
All right, we got Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Resident Evil 4, Spider-Man 2, and Alan Wake 2.
I'm so excited for Alan Wake 2. I am so excited for Alan Wake 2. I wish I could. I have to wait for Christmas to get it because it's on my goddamn Christmas list. But I want to dive into this game so bad. I freaking love Alan Wake's story, at least the first one. I did not play American Nightmare because it didn't get a lot of good reviews, but I've played it. This was a game that Rogue sat down and watched me play because of the way it lays out. It plays out like a TV show. Like every chapter in the game is the next episode, and they do this whole thing where it's like on the last episode, and it does like a review of what happened, and then it like bleeds into the next set, and it just plays so well. And I've heard nothing, absolutely nothing bad about Alan Wake 2 and how absolutely spectacular this game is. And I'm so hyped for it that I will be very sad if it does not answer any of my expectations.
It's interesting.
I didn't know what to
just
expect.
Came out. It just came out last week, and it's on the Game Awards. So it's better to be released, I guess, a week before than a week after. Because if this was going to be not eligible this year, but next year, it probably wouldn't get anything next year.
Right.
I feel like
this had a lot of anticipation for Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake's got a pretty deep cult following, and when they announced it, I was like, they're finally doing something with it. And I thought it was going to be like, meh, whatever, Microsoft, Remedy Games, do your thing. And then it turned out to be this fucking spectacular, like I don't even know if my computer can run it. Like spectacular is what they're talking about. So, and I got a pretty decent PC, so I'm a little worried that I'm not going to be able to play it to the level that it can be played at.
Yeah,
I love Spider-Man.
I think this is going to be another category where there's a lot of games that's nominated for this category that are likely on the Game of the Year category. And I feel like whichever one doesn't win the Game of the Year will likely scoop up this category. I mean, when I think action adventure, I think the definition of action adventure is probably Zelda. But Spider-Man 2, I've heard a lot of great stuff about too.
I think Spider-Man 2 it would have a similar vein on Zelda because it is open world, it's explorative, it's action-packed. You've played the first ones or whatever. Yeah. I think the new Marvel Spider-Man for PS4 and PS5 came out. I'm playing Miles Morales right now is epic. And they've added my favorite anti-hero / villain into Spider-Man 2 finally. So I am. And you guys know me, I'm a huge Spider-Man nerd. So very, as you can see, Venom behind me right there and Carnage. I'm very, get your bingo cards out, pointing at those guys. I'm very excited to play this because I love the way that they've designed the Spider-Man game and give you the freedom to just go around and do all the collection things, the Assassin's Creed thing, where you collect all the shit.
Yeah.
Get all the stuff. I'm interested to see because it's supposed to be 2 are better than 1 kind of deal, and how they're going to flip-flop between Miles Morales and Peter Parker, Spider-Man in this version. I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I really want to play that one. But my guess for what's going to take it, and you keep saying like if it doesn't get Game of the Year, it'll get this category. It can get both categories. It's not unlikely.
Right.
So
the reason
my thought
process
is
go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just the reason I say that though is because the winners are determined by 90% of this is games media outlets voting on it, and they get a cue card and they go through their list and they pick the winners. And I just feel like a lot of games media people are like, well, this is the Game of the Year, but this one is also really good. So at the very least, I'm going to give it best RPG or best action adventure. That's my thinking. I could be totally wrong. Maybe they'll have a game that sweeps a bunch of categories, but I feel like this particular category is one of the big ones, and I don't think they would do a double win, but I don't know.
Yeah, can you imagine if Alan Wake is on both action adventure and action and wins both of them? You'd be like, fuck you, man.
Well, no, it falls into one subcategory, but they all have the potential to be Game of the Year. So,
funny.
Like I said, Breath of the Wild won Best Action Adventure and Game of the Year in 2017. I think Tears of the Kingdom is likely to do that this year because, one, it gave people the most time to get to know it, first off.
Yeah.
And it had probably the biggest and most broad appeal and an install base. Jedi Survivor, you said it was good, but I mean, I wanted to try it and I didn't.
Right.
Spider-Man 2 is currently limited to just the PS5, so an even smaller install base. Alan Wake 2 just came out a week ago.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 4 is a remake. I don't expect a remake from 20 years ago to take it.
It's good though. It's a good remake.
Yeah, I'm sure it's good, really but I don't expect.
But
it
I
to
agree with
Zelda.
you. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. It's going to be the redheaded stepchild in this category, unfortunately, which is a shame because it's a good remake, but we still argue about. Well, I argue about like remakes being allowed to win awards after they've already been out.
I don't have any qualms with that. Like I am completely happy with the nominations in this selection. I just think they don't stand a chance to Tears of the Kingdom as it is.
That's
like
fair.
When we look at the definition of the category, best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, to me that screams Tears of the Kingdom. I mean that game is literally combat, exploration, and puzzles. It's not narrative, it's not story. It's just those three things.
I mean, Spider-Man has combat, puzzles and traversal. It does have puzzles that you do. Resident Evil 4 combat, traversal with puzzles. I mean,
yes, so
I don't know. I could see that. And I would probably agree with you that it would probably win this category because it has the strongest resume of all of those things put together compared to these other ones. So I am not the biggest Tears of the Kingdom / the Breath of the Wild fan. There are things about it I don't care for, but I'm not going to not give it the credit that it's due. It is quite popular. So,
all right, moving on to best action. Any predictions?
And none of the last games were in this one, so.
Well,
I had no prediction. I had no predictions for this category, and I guess I should have had at least one.
I'm pumped. One's in here that I'm excited to vote for.
I'm guessing that's Armored Core 6.
You got it.
Gotta be.
Right. You got it, baby.
Dead Island 2 is in here, which I haven't heard squat about.
I haven't heard anything positive about it. I heard it came out pretty janky.
Okay, so let's read them off. Okay, here, I'll read this one. Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, no idea, Hi-Fi Rush, I've heard a lot about, and Remnant 2, which I think is like a
Ghost Runner's cool. Yeah, Remnant 2 is like it's like a Souls-like type game. Ghost Runner 2 is pretty cool. Ghost Runner,
I know people were pretty hyped for Ghost Runner 2 because Ghost Runner did really well, if I remember.
Ghost Runner was good. It's good, and it's kind of more of the same thing. It's a lot of like timing your jumps and action based, like getting around. It's a great action game, and I'm not surprised to see it in here. Armor Core is fucking badass. I love that goddamn game. It's getting my vote 100%.
To me, Ghost Runner 2 looks kind of like what was that? Mirror's
Edge.
Yeah. It looks like Mirror's Edge if it were combat instead of parkour focused.
Yep. I can see that. That's a very good depiction of that. I like Dead Island 1. I thought it was pretty cheesy, but those are the only ones. The only four that I know about are those ones. I'm not familiar with Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush is not an indie studio.
Play.
Yeah, like anybody who's interested, like is not sure about Hi-Fi Rush, go watch the trailer or go watch some gameplay. It's like
Bethesda too.
It's like Jet Gang Radio with a really strong story and like it's just cinematic. The whole game is cinematic, and the art style. This is a game that like really embraces the style and just goes with it. It's really great. I have not played a lot of it, but I want to go back to it. I hope there's a sequel and I hope it gets some kind of recognition. I feel like if it's not an indie game, then this is the category that it's probably going to be best in. It's Bethesda owned, but it's like a separate subsidiary studio.
Yeah,
but they're not small though, and they're not big. They're kind of like a mid-sized studio, I think.
Right.
So.
No,
this one I think we heard good things from Juby in the Discord, but I also think they were the only one that actually played it in the Discord. If anybody else did, I don't think they said anything. But yeah, I know he's a huge fan of Jet Set Radio. I'm a huge fan of Jet Set Radio. I'm disappointed I forgot about this game. I need to play it. Yeah. I love Jet Set Radio. I love Jet Set Radio Future. I want to play this.
Yeah. And then Armored Core, I've watched you play, Chard. It looks really dope for people who are into that kind of game. It's also not short. It's a long game. If you want your money's worth, you get it. Like surprisingly, it's like a 60-hour game if you want it to be. So that's a pretty good one. And I feel like, again, I don't think it's strong enough to win other categories. So I think it lives in this category, and I could see it winning this one.
It's a big action title, and everything, like the fights and everything, are really nicely compacted. Like there's a lot of gameplay and there's a lot of story into it, but it doesn't feel like you're taking too long on each level. You know what I mean? Like it
Right.
feels like it's the right amount. The boss battles are hard. I've already hit a wall and haven't been able to play it since, but I still love playing it. And even when you get to a boss, when you complete it, you feel accomplished and you're like, okay, I can put it down and go do something else for a little while and then come back and play it again. But it's not so ragey that it's, your standard FromSoft game, but it is definitely got that hockey stick difficulty spike.
Right.
Remnant 2, I don't even know anything about Remnant 1. Like, I don't know what Remnant is.
I've heard good things about the sequel, but I mean, it's a Souls-like game. I mean, my attention span for those games is very limited. I do like Elden Ring, but Liza P, Remnant, I can't. I'm just not going to put it.
It's probably something that I should give a shot and try. I've heard nothing
you liking it
things for that kind of style. So,
all right, let's keep going. Best VR AR game. I don't have any predictions for this one. I just actually charged my Oculus Quest 2 this week, but there's nothing new really that I can play on it because they got a new one coming out. So the only thing I really play on it is Beat Saber, and there's a Les Mills Combat Boxing. It's like a VR fitness game. That's why I installed it again. But I mean, there's never anything new and exciting in VR. I feel like that's been around for the last couple of years. I feel like I really had high hopes for VR taking off. I love the concept of VR. I've been a fan of it from Oculus from the beginning. I have a fucking dev kit. Like, I love the thing, but I feel like it's never taken off. And really all it is a glorified exercise device. And I feel that's disappointing. So I have no ideas what's in this category.
A lot of these games are proprietary, though. Like, a lot of these games are proprietary. So, like PlayStation VR, you can't play it on your Steam, your Valve Index or anything like that. Like, my VR set is fucking amazing, and these games, like 2 of these games, would be so dope on them, but they are PlayStation owned and will not ever probably make it to my system.
Okay.
Maybe one of them, but
well, if you want to read these off then so people from listening can hear.
Sure. We got Gran Turismo 7.
Fucking what?
Which is that's why I had my head all cocked sideways. Like, what is okay, Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Yeah, it's like Horizon Zero Dawn.
That
VR.
Horizon offshoot VR game that they did. Humanity. I have no idea. Based on the image, it looks like a sort of sim, like a Pikmin-like kind of thing. I don't know.
Or like Lemmings.
Resident Evil.
Lemmings. Yeah,
maybe Lemmings. That would make sense. Resident Evil Village VR mode.
God, that'd be so cool to play. I want to play Resident Evil so bad in VR, but it's proprietary. It's only set up, even with the games being released on Steam, you can only do the VR stuff with a PS VR kit. And I'm like, God,
that's disappointing.
Fuck you, PlayStation. Super disappointing, because these would be awesome. Yeah,
and the last
7 has a VR mode, and you can't play it outside of PS1.
Yeah, the last game is Synapse.
Yeah. No, much about it.
It's funny that PSVR 2, which from our reviews, everybody says it's not bad. It's definitely better than the first round of it, but it's still not as good as the PC VR headsets. But Sony has the one thing that PC doesn't, and that's the freaking software. And time and time again, inferior hardware, fine, but if you have superior software, you're going to win. So, like, software is king. So,
yeah,
it's a shame. I don't even know. Resident Evil 8 in VR would be fucking terrifying. I would love to play that, though.
Yeah, it looks like Synapse is a PSVR 2 game.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Not available for anything outside of the PS.
Not the most exciting category this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fucking shame, because this looks cool. Half-Life Alyx is still the best VR game I've played.
That was hard 2 years ago now, I think.
Yeah, and
it's been a while.
Walking Dead. Walking Dead's really good too. That's a good VR game too.
All right. I mean, I'll rave about Les Mills Body Combat Boxing. If you like having 2 guys in leotards and Australian accents yell at you to get fit, I mean, it's really fun. I really like that game.
Let's fucking go.
It's good.
All right.
Best mobile game.
Let's make short work of this category, please.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. How many Final Fantasy VIIs are there?
They're just
the whole subgenre.
They're bleeding rock out of that fucking stone, dude. It's so annoying.
Keep going.
Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Fantastic.
Honkai Star Rail, which I expected. You know, the new MiHoYo game, so I expected that. Monster Hunter Now.
It's crap.
Yeah, not Monster Hunter later, Monster Hunter Immediate.
Yeah, I'll talk about it after. What's the last one?
Terra Nil.
So here's the thing with Monster Hunter Now. That came out last month, and it's from the Pokemon Go people. So it's supposed to be like an AR type thing, like Pokemon Go, but it's Monster Hunter.
Okay. Yeah.
No, whatever, Niantic, but it's not fun. Like I thought, okay, I'm walking my kids to school every day. I'll fight some monsters. It'll be fun. It's just boring. There's more excitement in catching random Pokemon for the 50th time than there is slaying the same lizard thing 50 fucking times. It's just boring. Like even the actual fights where you're fighting a larger monster, it's just there's very little action to the game. I didn't know what to expect with it, but it takes up too much space on my phone, and it's just not worth the attention span, and I uninstalled it. Like, I don't play many mobile games these days. I heard about Honkai Star Rail as well, because that's the Genshin Impact people, right? So,
yeah,
I get it.
And this is what, like the third or fourth Honkai, I think.
I think so.
And this one is actually a JRPG instead of running around and being an action RPG the way whatever it's called was. I can't remember the name.
November,
but it still has the gacha system, right? Where you have
it still has the gacha system.
Yeah,
my artist November fucking loves Star Rail. He loves this game, so he's
I have come close to installing it a few times, but I'm always like, I don't want a game on my phone.
The same.
I'm done with that anymore. I don't want a game on. I'll pick up my Steam Deck. I'll pick up my Switch.
It's the same. All right, let's move it on then. Best debut indie game. That's a new category, I think. So that's nice to see.
Not. It's not a new category. No. Okay. It goes back a number of years. Last year it was Stray won it.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let me pull. Do you have any predictions, or you want me to pull it up?
I don't have any predictions because it's a tough one to figure since it's what debut indie game is. And when I looked at it, I was like, what does that mean? So it's literally the first indie game released by an indie studio.
Right.
Okay. So
okay. So we're judging the studio with their first release of the game, essentially.
Yeah, kind of. And I didn't see anything on last year's that I was like, oh yeah, like even Stray. I tried Stray, and it was
okay.
My buddy thought it was great. I was kind of out after about an hour and a half. I'm like, yeah, you're a cat. Okay.
Yeah, Jake and I were really heavily judging Stray last year.
There's a meow button.
Really heavily judging. Yeah.
That's all there is to it. That's the big feature. Yeah, it's your fucking cat.
Fantastic.
All right. So we got so debut indie. We got Cocoon. We got Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, and Viewfinder. Viewfinder is the only one in this list. Well, I've heard of Pizza Tower, and that's fine. But Viewfinder is the Dredge. One that's it's a puzzle game. But you can, if there's like you have to watch a video to better explain it. But like you can use your camera, I think it is, to kind of move the environment around dynamically. So you're taking 2D photos, but altering a 3D world. It's a very trippy, interesting game. I haven't really played. I haven't played it. I would like to. It's neat, but I don't know. I don't have any stake in any of these games. So.
Dredge is one I really want to try. It's a really
brother
cool concept.
Swears by Dredge.
Yeah. It's a cool concept.
He told me he played through it and got the boring ending.
Yeah.
So it's a fishing game in a world with Cthulhu.
It's a Cthulhu fishing game.
I have heard of this
one. You go out and if you catch the really weird fish and eat them and all sorts of stuff, like you start going crazy and you can get the crazy ending. And he just got the average ending where nothing really happens. So, but he loved the game. He cracked out on it for like 30, 40 hours. He said it.
Yeah, I know.
There was like 3 phone calls in a row, and we only talk every 2-3 weeks, where he would go on about Dredge for like 10 minutes. So
yeah.
Okay.
Dredge is supposed to be really good. Pizza Tower is this weird, bizarre, frantic platformer, 2D platformer. It looks silly. It looks weird. It looks interesting, but not interesting enough for me to want to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Shroomy play a little bit of it. It seemed pretty funny.
All right.
Like that's the kind of game where if my buddy picked it up and I could borrow it, I'd be like, yeah, I'll borrow it. But
yeah.
To try it.
Modern day, it's not really a thing. So,
right.
Okay.
And I know nothing of Cocoon.
Best indie game. So there's some drama around this category and what constitutes an indie game. So let me pull it up.
Sea of Stars.
Yeah, Sea of Stars.
So Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. So a lot of overlap with the last category. The controversy is over Dave the Diver. It's not an indie studio. It's a studio that's an offshoot of another larger studio that's got millions of dollars in funding or something like that. And the interview with the developer, they flat out said, no, we're not an indie studio. We're just a smaller studio, but we have support of a larger studio. It's just, we're not an indie title. We're just making games in a retro style, but it doesn't mean we're indie. So people are wondering if this kind of fell through the cracks, because technically, if you want to talk indie studio, Larian Studios that did Baldur's Gate 3, they're an indie studio. They're independently owned, right? I mean, they're only alive because of crowdfunding, Divinity, right?
Right.
They bought the license from Wizards to make Baldur's Gate 3, but they're very much their own studio. They are very much an independent studio. They're not on this list, for example. I wouldn't want them though. For me, indie was kind of like small team, low budget, skin of their teeth, no support from a satellite office helping them out. That's to me is indie, right? People who want to do things completely on their own. So I guess Dave the Diver doesn't really fit that bill. Sea of Stars, that's definitely an indie game to me. I mean, they're in Quebec. They're a small studio. They're just very successful. So, but I don't know.
Yeah. So Dave the Diver, Mint Rocket is the company that made Dave the Diver, and they're owned by Nexon.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's what Maple Story, Mabinogi. I know there's other stuff they did. I can't think of it right now, but yeah, they're pretty hefty publisher as far as I'm aware.
They publish MMOs, I think, too, right? They're not Tencent big, but they're pretty big when it comes to that kind of space. Mobile MMOs, I believe. Yeah, they're not small, and they even admit they're not an indie developer. So, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know. Sea of Stars. Got to win it. It has to.
Yeah, I mean, Sea of Stars sold 250,000 copies in its first week.
Yep.
On top of all the, the
Game Pass
backing that they did, and Game Pass.
Yeah,
so it's got to get it. It's just huge.
Yeah, I want to play Viewfinder. I want to play Dredge now, but Sea of Stars. I mean, there's no denying that one's huge. That's a good one. All right. What time wise? Okay, let's go through these here. We got
we got a few that we can burn through.
Best community support. Yeah. So that's transparency, responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity, and game updates and patching. Fixing their shit. This is the Starfield category in 2 years. Let me read this one off real quick. Baldur's Gate 3, because they've done a few patches very quickly. Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 16, or is that 50? Or is that 14?
That's 14.
That's 14.
That's 14. Never mind.
That's
and No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is on this list, I think, every freaking year because they do constant patching. Cyberpunk has got to be it, right? Because Phantom Liberty and the 2.0 update.
Gonna win this.
Yeah.
That's a total game changer. Literal game changer.
Yeah.
I think Cyberpunk wins this one.
Brand new experience, hands down.
And honestly, they have been pretty forthright with the information regarding updates and all that before they come out. So well, the initial release was rocky. They've gotten better.
Yeah. No, exactly. They've definitely turned things around. That's a redemption. Like, we should do a redemption arc episode because there's Hello Games with No Man's Sky. Like, there's a few studios that have kind of redeemed themselves. But yeah, so I mean, I don't have any comments on these ones. I mean,
honestly, this should be called the redemption category because Destiny 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy 14, and No Man's Sky. I don't think Baldur's Gate belongs in that category, but at least 4 of these games required some major fucking refacing and rework to make them what they are now. So We'll just call this the redemption category.
Destiny 2 is interesting because it feels like the community around that game, they hate one expansion and love the next. It goes back and forth. But Bungie just had a bunch of layoffs. So, and like the current expansion I heard didn't sell well. So there's questions about where Destiny 2 is even going to be a year from now. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I didn't say it was going to win. I just,
I understand why it's there. All right, so that's best community support. Now going to best ongoing game. I have to read the definition of this one because I don't freaking know.
I'll read it. Awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time.
So that's like the last category, really.
Sort of. It's like a very specific aspect of the last category.
Yeah.
So it's more about game updates than it is about, community support and transparency and all that.
It shocks me that Cyberpunk is on here because this seems to me like a very MMO /
Yeah, FPS. I mean, the rest of the list, you got Apex Legends, Final Fantasy 14 again, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, and Cyberpunk 2077. Like, one of these is not like the others.
Yeah,
it's like we're trying to squeeze
always releasing new updates, new content, whereas Cyberpunk had one update in 3 years.
Right. And from what we're being told, we'll not have any more beyond this. So it's not like this is going to keep going like these other 4 games will undoubtedly keep going.
Yeah. So, I have no horse in this race. I have no idea who's going to win.
Yeah.
I'll give it to 14.
I would say Final Fantasy 14 probably because I think Endwalker expansion was within the time period, if I'm not wrong, and people love that expansion. So
well, they're getting a new one that's coming out here real soon too. So
it's one of those games. Games for impact. These are the artsy games, usually with a strong message. I'll read them off.
For a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message.
Yeah, you want to read them off?
Sure. A Space for the Unbound, Chants of Senar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terra Nil, and Venba.
Yeah.
I know nothing about
I have not played any of these. The only game I heard of was Chants of Senar, which I think I put in Discord. Somebody told me it was like the Dark Souls of Duolingo because it involves learning a language. I think I explained it because, like, I know, Wolf, I recommend for you because you loved Tunic's language. And, I mean, you were translating the damn runes in Tunic. This is that kind of game in terms of, like, the language aspect of it.
This is something I could maybe get into. I know Goodbye Volcano High. I'm pretty sure that's a visual novel game. I don't know much about it. It doesn't look like my cup of tea, but it looks interesting. I know Venba, we mentioned it earlier. Venba is kind of like a Cookin' Mama style game, but I think it's about Indian cuisine and getting the kid involved with cooking with his parents.
Okay.
So that's the sort of idea with that one, which I thought was a neat take on it.
Yeah, this category they're the games I would like to try, but they're sometimes get a little bit too deep for me. Like a couple of years ago, the winner was this category was A Dragon Called Cancer, which is about a game. I use that term loosely.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, but it sounds like I would cry my eyes out.
Yeah, it's about parents who lose a kid to cancer. I don't want to play that as a game in my free time. Like, I mean, it sounds like a Schindler's List type of thing. Schindler's List is a fantastic, epic movie, but I don't want to play I don't plan to play Schindler's List the game. Like.
Well, I don't want to shit on him like that. Like, I remember following the development of A Dragon Called Cancer. I was reading about it before it came out, and I thought it was a really cool concept, but it's something too sad for me to want to play, especially now that I have a kid. Like, I don't want to.
I don't have.
I don't
kids
even want to imagine
that.
No, that would be heartbreaking.
Oof. I don't know. I mean, I get it.
You speed run that game? Would you feel bad if you speed run that kind of game?
What's the speed run? We're just skipping the content.
Oh my gosh!
But no, I'm not shitting on it. Like, these are great games. I'm glad they're there. I just can't. They're not for me. Like, I don't want to cry when I'm playing video games. I don't mind the emotional impact of games, but these heavy topics, I can't right now. Especially,
I'll cry if I'm scared to death. I'll do that. but I don't need that. I don't need those kind of tears. Like actual
I'll
sadness
cry
tears.
when I'm
Fear
dead.
Tears are fine.
Impact
Cry when I'm
games.
Today on.
All right, today on.
The next category is I want to talk about this one. It's called innovation and accessibility. Now, to me, I would think just seeing the title, like these are games that got really creative with how they opened up accessibility for an audience of gamers who could not normally play the game under normal circumstances, right? But then I see the list of games and I'm kind of like, are these just like
what? Yeah.
We watered the games down to make them easier for people to play? Because the first one is Diablo 4. Then we've got Forza Motorsport, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Mortal Kombat 1, and Street Fighter 6. So I'm inclined to think that some of these might be what I would think of, and some of them might literally be, we just made it easier for everybody.
Right.
So I know a little bit about the accessibility stuff in this game because I'm interested in that kind of stuff too. Diablo 4, I have no freaking clue. I mean, there's multiple difficulties, but you have to unlock them, I guess. Forza, though, Forza's always...
It's the episodic thing, maybe like the wipe or whatever.
Maybe, but I mean, because you could always hop in to play a new season of Diablo 4 if you haven't played the previous seasons.
Right? Maybe that's the accessibility there, because anybody can jump in at any time. That's the only thing I like. Legit, that's the only thing I can think of that.
It's successful in that I only had to play through the campaign, and then I got bored and I quit. It's accessible and it freed up my time. Thanks, Diablo 4. Forza Motorsport, I don't know the new ones, but the old, historically, Forza's always had some great difficulty tuning, whether you want the drive line or not, and to make it easy to play. That's why I like the 360 version so much, was because of that. Hi-Fi Rush, I'm not sure. Street Fighter 6 is the one I can talk about the most. So Street Fighter, everybody knows Street Fighter from the arcades. 6-button layout, you have 3 punches, 3 kicks. It is a bit much. Most modern fighting games usually have 4 or less buttons, typically 4. In Street Fighter 6, when they released it, they made a big deal about bringing a new control style. They call it the modern controls, and it's a 4-button layout for Street Fighter 6. The trade-off is you can do supers with a button push, think Smash Brothers style, and there's auto combos with it. The trade-off is it's 20% less damage, and you don't have access to every single move in the full moveset. From you talk to the average fighting game fan, it's nice. It's great that it's there. It's a way to get into a game like Street Fighter 6 and not be overwhelmed. Because the hardest part of these games is doing the Dragon Punch motions and just learning all the different moves. Because in Street Fighter 6 especially, every single attack, your light punch, medium punch, heavy punch, etc., everything has its use and place. Everything has a use in a combo, a special hitbox. It's a lot to take in. Modern controls with the auto combos and the easy special moves makes that a lot easier to get into, and it hooks people. I think that's great. I don't know if I would call it accessibility. It's definitely friendly to newcomers, but I don't think it's necessarily an accessibility thing. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the other games that help with the accessibility thing.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of where it would be in Spider-Man. But Spider-Man,
all I can think is they probably expanded the spider senses to be a little bit more readable and give you a little more time to play them. And then
the combat's a little bit easier.
I do know there's mechanics that made make the web swinging easier or more difficult if you want. Like you can turn off the auto swing so that you can actually overswing too much and slingshot back down and break Spidey's back on a corner of a building and die. Like
actually I think there is fall damage in 2 where there wasn't before, and I don't know if it's an addition, like you could turn it on or off, because I've fallen from very high heights in the other 2.
Oh yeah, I do the superhero drop, right?
Exactly. So, but I did see that there was you can get fall damage. I think you could turn it on and off. So that's probably one of the things that they added to it.
Yeah.
I'm curious why Alan Wake is not here, because Remedy did Control. And if you're playing Control now, you guys, if you look at the options menu, I like that game because there's a lot of customization of difficulty, from damage you take to what you deal to all that stuff. And it let me tone down the combat encounters to be easy, because I didn't like that game for the combat. I liked it for the story and the background lore and shit. So and that to me was like the peak of accessibility when it came to difficulty tweaks, like more so than Tunic even. So I thought maybe they would do that in Alan Wake 2. I wonder if they did, or if Alan Wake 2 is even that kind of game. It's kind of interesting that they're not there, because Control was great for this kind of category.
You know, Alan Wake plays a lot like, we discussed it on MP, a lot like Silent Hill. So I'm not sure how they could make it a more accessible game when it's pretty straightforward. But you're playing as two different characters in this version with two different things that correspond with one another.
Right.
Other than just watching some video and reading some things about it, I don't know enough to really like stand behind any kind of, this is what they did, I'm for sure that's what it's about kind of thing. I'm sure there's a difficulty adjustment slider like there was in the original, and that's pretty much where my limitation on that is.
All right. Next category is best performance, I guess voice acting.
Yeah, I was when I first saw it, I was like, well, not Baldur's Gate 3, but
what? You don't like the performances in Baldur's Gate 3?
No, I was talking about how well it ran.
Oh.
That's where my brain went when I read it. So I had to get that out there before.
And the winner is City Skylines 2 and Starfield.
So yeah, how did Star Wars Jedi Survivor make this list? It's still got a mixed bag on how performance ran.
No, but like for the actors, okay, it makes sense. Like any one of these could take it. Honestly, it's
give me Idris Elba.
Voice acting is
so we got Ben Starr.
So good these days.
Yeah, Ben Starr from Final Fantasy 16. He is Clive, I think
Clive.
he's the main character.
He plays a main character.
Cameron Monaghan is the main guy from from the
Cal,
Jedi in the game. He's great. He was great in Gotham too. Idris Elba in Cyberpunk, and Melania LeBird from Alan Wake 2.
Yeah,
Neil
she plays
Newbon.
She plays the detective, the new character that's added to Alan Wake 2.
So not Alan Wake, but the other character. Yeah.
Yes.
Neil Newbon, I think, is Asterion.
I would believe.
I mean, his performance is fine, but not the one I would have picked to be the nominee for this category, though. Yeah. I don't know.
Give me the fucking narrator. That's who I want to win.
100%. She's great.
Yeah.
Do you know she did like up to 15 different variations of narration depending on what path and what you take? Like there is so much of her dialogue in this game. There's a lot. It's great.
She's the unsung hero of the damn game. I love the narrator in that game.
And the last one is Yuri Lowenthal from Marvel Spider-Man 2. He's a very well-known voice actor. Peter Parker, I hope Idris doesn't win.
Most any of them can take it.
I want Idris to win. I love that guy.
Yeah, I would rather see the people who are more prevalent in the gaming industry and the game voice acting space to take it. Like if Idris Elba gets it, it feels like he kind of cheated everybody else.
Yeah, like Christopher Judge, I think won last year. I think for
Kratos.
Yeah, Kratos, and he was fine because he's not. I mean, he's an actor, but he really, I don't know. It's tough because he really gave it his all in God of War, and I think he deserved it. Idris Elba does not phone it in for Phantom Liberty. He is good in Phantom Liberty. He is doing the best Idris he could possibly be, and he goes into it.
And that's my argument, because he's not Megan Fox. You know, like where they're just. We're just using her because she's in the fucking game. He does just as good playing fucking Knuckles the Echidna or, you know, the character that he plays in Phantom Liberty as he would playing literally anything else anywhere else. So I know it's one of those things where it's like the guy is everywhere. He's a famous actor. We know who he is. Not very many people know who Ben Starr is or Neil Newron or any of these fucking people. I get that because this is their breadbasket. But he shouldn't be penalized because he is more well known than everybody else. So, you know, what I just tell the other voice actors on here, fucking get good. Okay? Get good. Get to that level.
I think I would want Cameron Monaghan from Star Wars Jedi Survivor only because that is a character in the game that I wish they would just pluck and put him into a movie. They completely capture his face in the game anyway. He's great in it. And that world and story around him would make an excellent fucking Star Wars movie. I don't care about Poe and Finn and Rey at all. I'm done with the Emperor. Just give me Cameron Monaghan as a Jedi. That's all I want. So, but I would like to see an actual games voice actor take it, just because their industry is not large, and they lose jobs to stars, and I don't like it. So, but
get good, get better.
Shut up. You're gonna get us canceled, Chart.
Fuck. Get on Elba's level. Let's talk.
All right, we got 6 more. I do think we need to do a little rapid fire here because it's coming up on 2
best
hours
audio
again.
design. So best audio design, you got Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4.
Dead Space. Dead Space's sound environment is so fucking scary in the new version of it that it brings it to a whole nother fucking level. It's the same thing with Alien Isolation. I would I would argue Alan Wake 2, but I haven't played it, so I can't say it. And I fucking love Dead Space more than most horror games out there. I'm Dead Space 100%.
Yeah, I'm not.
That game is nothing without its sound design.
It's the horror category. I think honestly, just because that's where the sound design lives. So
yeah.
All right, best score in music is a tough one. You got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and Tears of the Kingdom. I'm just gonna say Tears of the Kingdom shouldn't win this. I love Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, it's the same as Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah, like, it's just there.
In fact, like I feel like the music was not even quite as good as Breath of the Wild in Tears of the Kingdom.
It's just forgettable, right?
I'd say 16 in Baldur's Gate. I want to hear Alan Wake's. I bet it's really fucking good, but
I mean, Hi-Fi Rush. I feel like I gotta listen to the soundtrack to Hi-Fi Rush because if it's like Jet Set Radio, it might have a fucking badass soundtrack, and I have no idea.
I'm really bummed that Sea of Stars didn't get on here, because that soundtrack is a fucking kicker.
It was interesting, yeah. Baldur's Gate 3, I think, was great because the intro song to Baldur's Gate 3 was so fucking epic. But the combat music is great. There's the I don't even want to sing it, but the now song. There's variations of that song in game depending on the mood, and it's really well done. So
at 16, all those composers for Square are I mean they're no nuovo, but they're still fucking good, and everything is as epic and swelling, and it's just it's a good one. I'd lean on 16 for this one personally.
Yeah, I mean Yoshi P's not gonna have bad sound in a Final Fantasy game he touches. There's no way.
Yeah,
no, absolutely not.
All right, best art direction. So
we're gonna see one game on here quite a bit leading towards the end.
I think so. Alan Wake
2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
I gotta say, I'm gonna go with Lies of P on here because the concept of taking Pinocchio's story and turning it into a Soulsborne type game is really cool aspect. And
that's fair.
I think it's a really cool spin on the story and making everything like steampunk and mechanical and all the stuff. I've watched Eleanor play this game for freaking hours because he's obsessed with it. Again, I would totally probably lean on Alan Wake 2 had I had seen more or played it myself, but from playing Lies of P and seeing it, I'd have to give it to them for best art direction because it's a really interesting aspect to take that story and turn it into what they turned it into.
I could get behind that. I was going to say maybe Mario Wonder because this is the first time Nintendo has actually been like, you know what? When you ingest certain plants, the world gets weird.
Yeah.
LSD trip.
We're just going to lean on the acid trip aspect of this entire goddamn game.
Like he's been eating mushrooms for 30 years and it's finally 40 years. He's finally doing something.
But more than that too is like we said in the episode we devoted to this game is that the last 10 years of 2D Mario has been very boring visually.
Yeah.
They actually took some risks with this one. They actually put time into the animations and it looks good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's winner of the award, but it's definitely a lot better direction for a Mario game.
Yeah, right. I don't know that I would give it to Tears of the Kingdom just because it's so similar to Breath of the Wild in terms of art direction. Yeah. Like it's more of the same in a lot of ways, and what's different doesn't really stand out to me.
Yeah,
Alan
I
Wake's
agree.
story is played really cool because it's viewed through two different like lenses of like one's in reality and one's in a nightmare kind of deal. And when you
Okay.
do when the character does one thing in one side, it shows up in the other world in a different spin-off. It's a really
That's
cool
interesting. Yeah.
concept that I'd like to see in action other than just reading it. I'm trying not to watch too many things for
Yeah.
spoilers. But I mean, the concept of it, I wouldn't be shocked if it won best art direction for how they have manipulated it. They're taking the whole control aspect that we've been talking about a lot and throwing it into Alan Wake and giving it this really cool two-sided coin kind of look to it. Wouldn't
That's
shock me
two
if this one
games
won
we need to
something.
do an episodes on is Control and Alan Wake. I think I play Control. I still have
would
to play Alan
love
Wake,
to
but
do
yeah,
an
we
Alan
should.
Wake episode. Absolutely.
All right, so moving on to best narrative. Char, do you want to read best narrative nominees?
Best narrative nominees. We have Alan Wake 2 is hanging out here. Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So we're starting to kind of see the heavy hitters start rearing their heads from the looks of it. Even Cyberpunk hanging out with it, but as we get closer to the game of the year, where we're seeing it all kind of take shape as what we assume the rest ones are going to be. Best there. I mean, Baldur's Gate. Come on, Baldur's Gate is your story, and what's cool about it is that it could go anywhere. Like it's so vast, and it's so, like Jake said when he was watching me play it, you know, I was doing things he'd never seen, and we watched Wolf play it, and we saw him do things we never thought we could do. There's so much shit in that game that you're the narrative. You're the story.
Yeah,
I think that's.
I feel like that one's got a strong chance at winning this.
Yeah. It's not just the
totally
plot
agree.
and the storyline of the game, but it's also just how things play based on your actions. Even in just in combat, like I broke through the ceiling of one encounter while Chard snuck through the front door, and Jimmy or Wolf could have killed everybody or not. Like different ways of doing things is really interesting. But I think Baldur's Gate 3 could be it. Phantom Liberty, I dig the story, but the opening, how they hook V, a random merc off the street, to save the president in the beginning of that, like that's a bit much. Like that's Con Air level of storytelling, and it was kind of stupid. But I mean, I love Idris in it and stuff, and when you get going, it makes sense. But I feel like that's a game that could have been a standalone experience with a new character, not V. But then it probably wouldn't have done as well. So I don't know.
16's story is epic. The narrative is epic. It's badass. Everything kind of comes together. It's just that extra fluff in between that really, I think, it's just it's. I hate to say it. I hate to say this, but it's boring. It gets boring when you're trying to get in between the next set of stuff that's going on. And it is extremely vast. It's very Game of Thrones, but they give you an accessibility to track the story and what each character's doing. So if you want to read like who these people are and where everything else is, like a whole spider web like in the game that you can click on each character's thing and it'll be like deceased or who this person was important to and how they're related to the characters. It's a really cool narrative concept that you can do that, and you can get like quick updates while you're running through. If you've forgotten who somebody is, you can press a button and it'll pull it up and be like, oh hey, these are these people. Oh okay, now I remember, and you can keep going. I bet Alan Wake probably gets a good stab at it too. They're not. I mean, they are and they're not. It's not like Final Fantasy 7, but if you have fucking OCD like I do, you can't just let them go. You can't, but you don't have to do them. You can keep on and trucking through it. That's the one like benefit to it. Where 7, it felt like you have to solve these 7 missions before you can move on to the next area, and you're like, but why? The door's right there. Just let me through it. This one doesn't make you do it, but it does help. You get more experience and you get some more, I don't know, stuff to make shit with if you need to, because you can upgrade your weapons and stuff with it. But it's not a necessity. It's annoying to me. It's annoying to see the help me bubbles over people's heads. I fucking hate that shit. That's why I haven't finished Cyberpunk yet.
Fair enough. All right, 2 left. Best game direction. Wolf, you want to read these ones off? Read off the category too, because this is a bit of a different award.
Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. So we got Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom.
I think it's a toss-up between Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, honestly.
I was actually thinking, like, Baldur's Gate 3, yes, I think that has a chance just because of, just like we were just talking about, there's so many things you can do, right? So the fact that it lets you do just about whatever you want and continue proceeding through the story like anybody else would, just on your own terms. But then Tears of the Kingdom really did, it really brought that build your contraptions thing, and in a way that's pretty accessible to most people. It's not super hard to make your inventions and just go wacky with it, and like people come up with such wild stuff with that. So I don't know, like honestly, any of these could take it, in my opinion. I won't be mad if any of them do.
Right. I think I'm with you, Wolf. Baldur's Gate 3, I think they wanted to make a CRPG like it was the 90s, and that's what they did. No compromises, like they did it. They have the idea of no DLC or expansion packs. They just want to make a full huge 100-hour plus CRPG, and that's what they did, just like they used to be made back in the day. And that's kudos for that. But Tears of the Kingdom, though, it's one of the few games that makes the first game so obsolete. Everything in Breath of the Wild is obsoleted by Tears of the Kingdom, and they did everything better. And just the way they give you a tool set, a physics sandbox, just like the first game, but it's way better. And you can just spend hours just messing around with the tools they give you to play around. To me, it's innovation. I've never seen a game that does this with the physics and the toys and the freedom to do whatever you want. There's islands in the sky. How you get to them, and totally up to you. And it's great.
Yeah, and in the order you want. Like we talked about it in the podcast in the past. I skipped massive chunks of the game.
Yeah.
And was doing near end game content at the beginning, right?
And it lets you, and it just says okay.
And it was just like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And then they just worked it in later, like, oh, we need you to do this. You already did that. Why'd you say something?
It's Tears of the Kingdom is great for that. Like, it just there's so many categories here where I'd see it not winning, but I think best game direction is one that has to take, because I think it's just so innovative in what it gives you to play with. It's great. All right, last category, the big one. I think we already know the names that are going to be on here. We've seen a lot of familiar faces. We got the Game of the Year nominees. Who wants to read them off?
I'll read them off. I'll go for it.
Okay.
Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
A lot of good games, man.
There is a lot of good games. I still have I would love to see Alan Wake 2 win it, but caveat. My argument about things that haven't been out long enough that are being selected for Game of the Year really bothers me. It still bothers me.
Yeah.
But I love Alan Wake so much that I would be okay with it winning this, just because it's such an under the radar game, in my opinion, for the first ones. And there's such a cult following for it that having this release come out, that literally people like me have been waiting for a new Alan Wake to come out for years, and it finally came out and it's doing so well. It'd be like, that's cool. Like to let it kind of take that one. I think Tears of the Kingdom is probably going to be high up on the list, though I'm not a big fan of it, or Baldur's Gate 3. I feel like those are the two that are really going to make that decision. I think Spider-Man hasn't been out long enough, and from what I'm reading, other than some cool things that they've added to it, maybe the playing as both Miles and Peter, it's still like more of the same, like kind of feel to the other two games. Resident Evil 4 is a great remaster. It's a great remake. And Mario Brothers Wonder is a cool game. It's not Game of the Year to me, but it's definitely a cool 2D platforming Mario game that we haven't seen in a while. But I definitely think Baldur's Gate and Zelda are going to be the two that battle this one out.
Yeah, I don't feel like Mario Brothers Wonder is Game of the Year caliber. I do think it's good. I don't think it's Game of the Year good. Resident Evil 4 again, the remake thing. I just don't think it's going to overtake the other contenders here that just showed up and hung around. So I'm with you. It's a Baldur's Gate versus Tears of the Kingdom for me here. Either one could take it, and I wouldn't be upset if either one does.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate's spectacular.
It's interesting to me is like Baldur's Gate 3 it's an old school character RPG, and I always thought like that genre's a bit dead. I mean, I love them and they have their fans. We've had a few over the last few years. But the popularity of that game, when you see the numbers on Steam who are playing this game and who are streaming it,
current players,
ridiculous. And like the only thing I can contribute to that is that there was a rise in D&D during the pandemic when we're all working from home or stuck from home, and people playing D&D online. But as things started opening up again, people I think started losing their D&D groups, and Baldur's Gate 3 kind of gave them an outlet. That's the only thing I can think of why this is popular. I mean, I love it, but it's weird to say that in 2023 a D&D video game is like a contender for Game of the Year. That's pretty wild. So I think that's great. Mario Wonder, I'm going to pull the GP. I'm going to call Mario Wonder a hidden gem because a lot of people are probably like me. And when they saw Mario Wonder, they're like, I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's Mario. It's not going to be bad, but it's not going to be great. Especially with the history of 2D Mario in the last little while has been kind of bland, kind of just safe. But Mario Wonder, I said in our episode before, it took some risks. It took a lot of the ideas from Mario Maker, the fan stuff that Mario people did in Mario Maker, and they made that into a game. And I think it's spectacular.
Yeah, it took 32 years to get a sequel to Mario World.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I mean, I love it. It's like is a Game of the Year? No, but it would be a really great honorable mention or a second place. So I think it's going to be Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom as well. But I mean, who knows?
I think Alan Wake's more of a hidden gem personally, but that's just me.
But it also just came out. So, I mean, the critics and stuff, the people who are voting on this have played it already, but I mean, nobody else has.
Like I said, it's too new still, and I have my beef with it, but I'd love to see it win. Just because it's going up against some heavy hitters on here that have been around for a while, and it just like quietly everybody's like, "Oh, Alan Wake 2 is going to be coming out soon." And we were like, "Oh, they're making a second one." And then it turned out to be like a smash hit coming out the gate. So it's kind of exciting. So I don't know. I if I didn't have so much love for the first Alan Wake, I think I would obviously think very differently of this. But I has to be Baldur's Gate 3 personally. I would select that just because I haven't played D&D since 2003, and this was gifted to me, and I was like, yeah, this seems kind of cool. And the minute I fired it up, I was like, yo, this is just like back in the day. This is cool. Like all these aspects are cool. It's super faithful, and it brought me member berries and a little nostalgia to playing it again. So it's such a long game. I haven't had time to like really invest into it like I want to.
All right, guys. I think maybe we skip top 100 this week because we are pushing 2 hours for this episode.
Yeah, this episode is running really long. So
I knew it was going to go about this long. So that works for me.
All right. So I'm going to call out. So if you enjoy our podcast, please drop us a like or subscribe. We are trying to grow the channel. We're trying to get up to the 500 subscribers. That'd be really great. I know we've had a few join in the last few weeks. That's fantastic. Tell your friends. Tell your neighbor. Tell your neighbor's dog, even if they don't understand what you're saying. It's fine.
Tell your
if you
cat.
like us, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music for whatever reason, we also are on YouTube. YouTube.com/@pressbtocancel.com. Sorry, @pressbtocancel, and also pressbtocancel.com. And yes, we're also on Spotify too. So we're pretty much Google Press B to Cancel podcast. You're gonna find us. If you find a site that we're not there, you let me know, and I'll make sure we get put there. So otherwise, Chard does stream occasionally over at twitch.tv/chardmonk. Wolf will occasionally stream over on the YouTube channel for Press B. I will eventually do something. This has been Press B to Cancel. Have a great week.